I've got a cold and I hate everything. What's up everyone, my name is Benjamin Abba, I am a Metro blogger and freelance writer, and unfortunately at the moment I am stuffed up with cold and everything is going wrong. My PC has broken down, well it had broken down, now fixed. That's why this video is a little bit later than I intended, simply because the power supply unit died for no obvious reason. The GPU, the graphics card, was having a funny 5 minutes, and the CPU fan, the processing fan, kind of committed suicide spectacularly. So now it's back, and hopefully it's smooth sailing from here on in. But unfortunately, I've not been able to get around to what everyone is talking about at the moment, GTA 5. We'll pick it up later down the road, haven't managed to get in yet. So I've been kind of going through my backlog, which is up here, and really kind of getting into Bioshock, actually. Bioshock 1 and Bioshock Infinite. I have no idea how it took me this long to actually get around to them, but bloody hell, they're amazing. I'm kind of late to the party saying that, but you know what, actually don't care. So the question now is, are they some of the best games of this generation? Yes. There we go, video finished. No. Genuinely, I think actually they're probably going to be, what I'd imagine anyway, they're going to be seen as classics come the next generation and beyond. I really wouldn't be surprised if we saw remakes and sort of that franchise kind of coming back as almost like a collection later on, like for instance Eco and Shadows of the Colossus did for this generation. And you know what, actually I really wouldn't be too sorry to see that, because for me they're probably some of the best written games with some of the best realised worlds that I've ever played, full stop. And I really don't say that lightly, and you'll probably see that in a minute when I'm moaning about everything else. But I was just completely blown away by how well realised, firstly, that world, both worlds were, Rapture and Columbia, and mainly though the fact that they don't beat you round the head with it. It's not like a lot of RPGs or fantasy worlds where they are basically giving you loads of exposition, trying to kind of lead you by the nose to everything. Rapture and Columbia really kind of just let you find it at your own pace via the audio logs and voxophones and bits and bobs where you can find out the history of the place and of certain characters. And I really liked the way that actually it doesn't tell you everything. Say certain characters like the iconic Big Daddy, we never entirely work out how they're made. It's and that's something that I really loved, is that actually it's deliberately vague, so you can kind of almost, you're always wanting a little bit more. And the characters in those games, I think, again, fantastically written, and they're so unique. They really deliberately shy away, in some ways, from the archetypal villains or the sort of the typical characters you would expect from game fiction, which often, you know, the macho soldier man and etc, etc, etc. And so as a result, I think actually I was really quite intrigued to find out more, simply because we haven't really seen anything like that before, and I would argue we haven't really seen anything like it since. Well, until obviously Dishonored turned up, so that's the one I'm starting on now. I'm still somewhere in the middle with Dishonored, to be honest, because when it came out I really wasn't keen on the idea. I loved the art style, I really liked the world, and I felt it was well realised, and I felt it was fascinating and just really intriguing in how dark and dingy it was. But the visuals have always turned me off. I like the idea of them, and I think sometimes they're absolutely stunning, but at others, it just looks like a pile of crap on my 360. I'm gonna be brutally honest. You know, and again, I'm sure they put in so much effort into this game, and you can really tell, and it really comes across. Say just in the scope of the world and sort of the depth of its fiction. And, you know, again, props to them for not going the photorealistic route and actually doing something a little bit different. I just felt that in certain areas, say for instance at the beginning, when you're being lowered down a boat into the river to go wherever it is you're going, If you look up at the boat, the textures on the ship are quite naff. They're kind of all smudgy, and I know that kind of it was partially intended to be like that because I think it was kind of almost like concept art, kind of moving a moving watercolor. Whereas when actually I was playing through certain areas, I just found it to be too smudgy and a bit too kind of indistinct. So I felt it kind of lost some clarity and it just looked a little bit messy instead of, I suppose, artistic. But then you would have areas like the sewers at the beginning of the game. I think that's a really good example of sort of the game's beauty in a nutshell, because it's smaller, they have more time to go over every little detail, every little surface, and it just looks amazing. It looks really, really good. I just felt that certainly some of the wider open areas, like the very opening of the game, could have done with perhaps a little bit more polish. But I suppose again it comes down to what they had time for, and the gameplay, which they've clearly polished and polished and polished until it shines, is fantastic. I love it. It's really, really great. I am rubbish at stealth games though, because I try and be patient and wait and sneak up on people, but I just don't have the kind of disposition for that, so I'll sit there for about 30 seconds, get bored, move on, and then get really annoyed when I get spotted. So yeah, I soldiering on with that one. Found again, gameplay I'm finding really good fun. The other thing I'm not quite so keen on is the story. While I think it's not bad, it's good. It's, for me, I'm finding I'm questioning it too much. Say for instance, at the beginning, your character Corvo is the bodyguard of the Emperors. He's just come back from visiting all the other cities in the Empire to find a cure for the plague. And, I mean, firstly, he's kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time, so when the Empress is assassinated in kind of an assassination plan, he happens to be there, so he gets all the blame for it. But my real problem with it is that some rebels, they break you out of prison just before the day of your execution to try and basically get you to be their assassin. Now, for me, I'm sure that while I appreciate that Corvo is meant to be an amazing warrior and all this kind of stuff, let's be brutally honest here. You've got the most secure prison in the city with the most wanted man in the entire empire, and you choose to break him out. You know, some of the people who were running this rebellion, they are, you know, generals and admirals, and they surely know some people who know their way around a weapon. So why this guy? That to me didn't really make sense. And again, while I can kind of sort of understand it, it's kind of detracted from the experience for me a little bit. But I'm really hoping that it improves, because there are certain elements that I adore. For instance, the outsider. There's just after you've started, there's a section where it's in a dream world, so everything's hovering over here and there and everywhere, and it just doesn't make sense, and it's fantastic. Water's running up, and you've got sort of islands that are upside down, and you've got to use your blink power to warp from place to place to place, and you're seeing almost like tableaus of events that have happened or are happening, kind of, I presume, in that moment. And that was fantastic. I felt that really is the game at its best. It looked incredible, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It introduced one of the best, I'd say, mechanics, which is the blink mechanic, to warp from place to place. And it also kind of introduces a really intriguing element in the form of the sort of magic and the heart that you get, which basically, if you it guides you toward runes or objects which can help you power up. But also, if you press the left trigger in certain areas, it will actually tell you secrets about that area or that person or whatever. And I think that is a genius idea. It's amazing. So really, really, really taken with that. Well, to be fair, for all my moaning about it, at least it works, which is more than I can say about Rome 2 Total War, which while it's fantastic, I've had so many problems. So my PC earlier had broken. It feels like Rome 2 is the Antichrist, the vanguard of the apocalypse, because as soon as it arrived on my doorstep, everything started breaking. The computer broke, the internet went down, and when my brother tried to play it, his computer broke as well. And then when I went onto forums, because I couldn't get the sort of the graphics to really look any good, it kept locking itself at really low textures. Well, not everyone, but lots of other people had the same problem, and they were having crashes and all this kind of stuff. And while Creative Assembly, the developer, have said that I think it's only something, they said it's only something like 2% of people are having these problems. And while I appreciate they say that that's too much and they're working as hard as they can to fix it, I've just kind of gotten a bit tired of it now, where I'm happy to play the single player. That seems to be fairly stable now, and I've got it looking good, it's running well, and I'm enjoying it. It's it's a great, really fantastic RTS. If you haven't picked it up yet and you like that kind of thing, do so, because it's one of the best in class. But when I try and play a co-op campaign with my older brother, he, as we often do with games, we play lots of games together, and this was going to be the one we were looking forward to probably the most out of the entire year. And to be brutally honest, every time we've had so many glitches, and every time we play a battle with someone, it kicks me out. As soon as the match is over, it literally doesn't even take me back to the campaign map, it just throws me straight back into the menus, and so we lose all of our progress, he can't save it, and that's happened I think twice now. We've had other crashes as well, and it's just like, no, enough, I've had enough of this now. The only 2 battles we fought have thrown me out, and we really can't be bothered with it anymore. So I'm wondering whether Rome 2 should have been released to be, if let's just lay our cards on the table. I understand why they did, because again, if it's only a small amount of people that are having problems, then it's kind of understandable to just get it out and then patch it later to fix those issues. But going by reviews and whatnot, that number I would almost like to say is potentially bigger than that, because obviously we didn't complain about any of this, so they don't know about it. And I'd imagine we're not alone either. There are some people who've tried to play it and probably won't have managed, and so I suspect that number's actually higher than that. And again, while I understand that they had to get out before Call of Duty, Battlefield, all those huge games, Assassin's Creed, the like, it really could have done with some more polishing. I would have preferred to see it probably like December time, after they'd put far more effort into sort of polishing up the last little 10% that needed it, like the sort of the glitches, the bugs, the AI routines, which can be really quite stupid, and as far as I'm aware, they've now fixed, but at the time of release that was still a bit of a problem, sometimes anyway. So in some ways, yeah, I would have almost preferred them not to release straight away and actually to release later, but certainly going to be wary when going near Creative Assembly games again. Probably not going to buy them on release, and I'm going to wait for a good few months afterward, because I think that's twice now that we've had big problems with Total War games, which is a shame because I adore the series. It's easily one of my favourite franchises, so I find that really disappointing. But there's still stuff to look forward to. I think it's not this weekend, but next weekend is the Eurogamer Expo. Going to go and have a look at that, so I should have a video sort of with thoughts on the biggest games, like for Xbox One, PS4, Wii U, whatever. So that's going to be really good fun, so obviously come back then and sort of I'll have a bit of a chat about it. And make sure you're following Artistic Play Network, my podcast, which I record with Ben Fox and Sean Greenhalgh. We basically go over the creative side of video games, say the story, art style, sound, and so that's Eurogamer is really going to be probably a big focus of the next episode, which we'll be recording shortly. Make sure you also check out my Metro blog, which can be found at www.metro.co.uk/author/Benjamin-Abbott/. You can also find it by just typing in Benjamin Abbott Metro blog on Google. It should be the first one there. So, also, I'm on Twitter at The Word Event, so make sure you follow me, and hopefully I shall see you and hear from you soon. Have a good one, and take care. Catch you later.